On this episode, we have great supply of Enlist E3 and LibertyLink GT27 soybeans. Ben showcases a couple stellar soybean and corn products we have in our lineup for you to plant on your farm next spring. The days are numbered and spring is coming. Get your seed ordered and delivered quickly to get the best varieties for your farm.
Hi, this is Joe Mershman and welcome to Cup of Joe, Season 2, Episode number 20. Today we have our regulars, Tommy and Turk and Ben, and we're going to start off with Ben.
So this week, obviously sales have been a very important portion of what we're trying to do. So I kind of wanted to highlight a couple different varieties we have good supply on that have a unique characteristics in their own little way. And the first one that I wanted to talk about.
Before you get into that, Ben, though, just in general, we're in pretty good shape on these Enlist E3s and LibertyLink GT27s.
Yeah, absolutely. We have good supply of.
We grew a bunch last year to be ready for this.
Correct. So we have a good supply of everything for the majority of the products, but I just kind of wanted to highlight a couple of them that are unique in their own way and definitely have a special fit for certain people that may have certain instances. So the first product is our Osage 2025E brand, and one of the cool things about the Osage is that it is going to be it's the leader train. It's the very front train pulling all these cars behind it because it is one of the first Peking beans that is commercially launched that has high yield capabilities and good disease packages, and it's definitely got a fit in the lineup.
Well, Ben, I think listeners should understand that when they put the cis nematode gene into soybeans for PI 88788, there was a huge yield drag associated with it. And the same thing with Peking. And it took many generations and a lot of breeding to uncouple that true yield drag that's associated with Peking and PI 88788. Anyhow, so this is a big deal, I think, because this particular product is at the top of the yield trials, and plus has Peking, which is a different source of resistance, which you can explain why that's important.
Right. So what we're trying to protect against is soybean cis nematode. It has been claimed that it's the number one yield robber of soybeans because soybean cis nematode are over the entire soybean growing region. And PI 88788 has done a fairly decent job throughout the years, but it is also gaining resistance. So it is the most popular gene that is used in soybean breeding. But now I think we're going to see a trend towards Peking if we can get the yields up on a lot of them. And possibly one of the yield bumps that the Osage is seeing is because it's got better resistance to the number one yield robber of soybeans. So
you get a race selection out there, and basically just doing the same one over and over again. You get a race that PI 88788 doesn't control, and so then Osage comes in there and knocks that down.
Correct.
Up in that, especially in that, say, northwest Iowa, where Peking beans are very popular, just due from the crustaceans over time and the fossils breaking down in the soil. But it's really noticed is how much, guys being up there, they've seen 30 bushel, or they'll even have two different products split with the planter trying to go across those acres just to get a better yield bump. And what we saw with our testing, what was it, 84% win rate with the Osages over the extended
what
checks?
you're referring to is iron corrosis issues, and then also the fact that the cis nematodes seem to, because they move with the soil, they move into those lower spots. So you have not only problems with iron corrosis caused by the crustaceans, and then you also have a higher level of cis just because those are the low spots in the field, and that's where the loose soil goes, and the soil's connected to the cis nematode and moves in the soil.
It's an exciting product for sure.
Right.
So a good way to look at this, Ben, probably would be like people are very familiar with weed resistance.
Correct.
And we recommend multiple modes of action to address those escapes and those weeds that are getting through the chemical program. So once you have multiple modes of action, this would be just another mode of action for cis nematode. And using this product in a rotation, wouldn't recommend again use it over and over and over, but use it in that rotation. I think Greg from Iowa State talks about the importance of that, putting a different product out there. You always use the highest yielding varieties, but this one actually is the highest yielding variety in that maturity, isn't it?
Right. So,
and one last point: if you do not have a Peking source, at least rotate your variety.
Right.
Even though you still got PI 88788 in the background, because there are different levels of tolerance within that group of products.
it does have the full disease package, like what we were talking about. It's got the Phytophthora, it's got high yield potential, it's got, like we said, the Peking, good tolerance to sudden death. So
everything but brown stem rot, right?
Correct.
So in other words, but iron crosis is good, and so it's got a good package. Except if you do have brown stem rot, that would not be your first choice.
Correct.
And that's a 2.5 maturity.
That is correct.
So what else you got for us?
So the next variety that I wanted to talk about is a 19 series that showed up wonderfully. I'm going through our notes through the elite trial data. Is our Memphis 1942 Enlist bean. So that's a 4.2. It has a full disease package. It's excellent against frog eye, which is something that's extremely important as we go south of Iowa. Excellent against stem canker. It's got the best Phytophthora gene on it. And for last year's data, they're claiming 102.7 over mean average, or the test averages. And this year, that number looks closer to like 105 or to 106. So it had a really, really good year again this year.
So 2 years in a row.
2 years in a row. It's been a wonderful product. So don't shy away from the Memphis if that's something that you're looking for. It's got good height to it, so it can be placed on lighter soil types, but it's got great standability. So it's not like it's something that you have to keep off the bottoms or things in that nature. So the Memphis 19 series,
Fairly
really,
widely
really
adapted.
Yep, really, really excited about that bean. So
Awesome.
you don't always have to go to the 20 series to get top notch yield potential. We can still get that in all of our 19 series. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about, so we highlighted 2 soybean varieties. I wanted to highlight 2 corn varieties that we're working with Stein. Stein is actually extremely excited about their new 9543G. This product is 103 day. It yielded 109% of test average over everything from a 95 day to 105 day in their elite trials.
Wow.
2 years running. So extremely excited about this product. It's a little bit taller than 9714, so it's going to be medium statured. It's a semi-fixed, so it's going to like the 10% higher plant populations. So if you're planting a different product in that field, because it's just, we're probably a foot shorter than the competition, probably run that, 10 to 15% higher plant populations with that, and you're going to see extremely good things coming out of the 9543G.
And what maturity is that?
It'd be 103 day, so it's one of our earlier ones for our listeners that travel probably Interstate 80 and north if they need an earlier variety. So really excited about this variety. Supply, we have a small supply. I mean, it's a brand new launch, so there's not unlimited supply of this product, but it's definitely a product that you should get 10, 15, 24, or whatever, how many bags on the farm just to get it filtered out and see how it fits with your environment. But it fits all soil types, extremely high yielding corn crop. And then we can go to our a little bit later season variety. We have a brand new 108 day, which is 9655G.
And G stands for glyphosate tolerance, right?
Correct. Yep. And this is a 108 day. Excellent choice for higher populations. It's going to be a medium height plant, so it's going to fall in the same height range. We're going to want, 10 to 15% higher plant populations with this one. It's still going to be taller than our 9714 as a reference point to anybody that's been in the plots. This one was 111%
Wow.
over trial averages, 2018, 2019, from 105 to 115 days. So this product sticks its head up, and it's definitely, we have a little bit better supply of the 9655, so we can go a little bit, it's not on, we can go with higher amounts for customers that need that variety. So we're really excited about both of those varieties. We got 108 day, 103 day. That kind of fills in some holes that we've been missing for maturities on Stein corn products, but extremely high yielding. And I think that if you're interested in trying the new statured Stein corn, like everything that we talk about on this show, both of these reflect that extremely well. So if you treat it correctly and you want it to yield extremely well, if you want it to outdo the competition by significant amounts, with the right fertilizer, the right amount of moisture, both of those products are going to be products that you can hang your hat on.
So if you haven't tried Stein corn in a while, there's a couple varieties that you better try and refresh yourself with the Stein corn product lineup.
Yep, I'm really excited. I got 50 or 60 bags of that 9655 on Dad's crop, so I'm hanging my hat on it. Everything I've seen, I really like.
Well, Tommy, what words of wisdom do you have for us today?
Joe, so last Wednesday, Joe and, or not Joe, sorry, Ben and Turk and I went to Chicago, and we had a meeting with our friends at BASF.
Well, that's the American Seed Trade Association convention.
Yes, sir.
That's where the whole seed industry meets.
That's right. So we got to see some of the BASF employees that we work with there, and talk to them a little bit, and we got to see a little bit of some exciting things that they have coming down in the future, and we also got to meet Captain Scotty Smiley, and he is it's the story of the first blind active duty officer for the U.S. Army, and in a nutshell, if this is the book, I would recommend getting out and getting it and reading it. It's a very inspirational story.
Active duty blind officer.
So what happened was,
Wow.
so Scotty went to West Point University. His sophomore year, 9/11 took place. He went straight to active duty and went over to Iraq, was over there for a while, and was affected by a roadside bomb. And he was the captain of his team, and the next thing he knows is when the roadside bomb went off, he woke up 2 weeks later in the United States at the hospital.
He lost his sight.
Lost his sight. He has a little bit of paralysis, but it's an inspiration because I will read this straight from the back of the book. Since jumping out of the hospital bed and forced his way through nurses and cords to take a simple shower, Scotty Smiley has climbed Mount Rainier, won an ESPY as best outdoor athlete, surfed, skydived, became a father, earned an MBA from Duke, taught leadership at West Point, commanded an Army company, and won the MacArthur Leadership Award. He also has a Purple Heart that was awarded to him. This was a very inspirational story to understand not why are bad things happening to me and why is something terrible just took place and happened to me. He thinks of it as, how can I get better? What can I do to move forward?
Sure.
Instead of feeling sorry for himself. And I think sometimes we get caught up. I know for me, for example, it was a humbling experience because at the end of the day, I'm not blind walking through life like he may be, and the things that he's gone through. And he actually completed the Ironman with his brother-in-law, which was very inspirational, which is amazing. They all cheered for him at the finish line, and if you know this, Joe, an Ironman has to be completed within a certain amount of time. Otherwise, they come get you and say, hey, you physically can't make it. You're going to, or time-wise, you try again next year. But he made it, and he did it with the help of his brother-in-law, and it's just an impressive story. It puts things in perspective, and all of us need to be grateful of what we do and where we work, and we work with some of the greatest people in the world, helping the farmers, and it was a very good experience, and it's something to remind everybody around the holidays that family and life and the way you look at things are very important.
That's right. You think it's you got the worst deal in the world, you find out that somebody else had worse and turned it into a positive.
Absolutely, and like I said, it's very humbling. And then another thing is I went to yesterday was Bill and Kathy Brewer's anniversary. So I'd like to give them a shout out for that because they're our good friends over in Indianola. And that's all I have today, Turk, or Joe.
Well, thanks, Tommy.
Yeah.
Turk, I think you've been pushing numbers lately.
I'm a numbers guy. So, yeah, I've got some numbers written down here. 10, 17, 31, 74 are my numbers.
Read that back to me again.
10, 17, 31, and 74.
So, what's the common denominator?
So 10 days to Christmas, Joe. And so time just keeps moving on. And again, no matter what situation we're in, nothing changes. Life keeps going on and things keep happening. So 10 days to Christmas, 17 days to New Year's Day, 31 days to January 15th, which is a key day for all of our customers to get their orders in. We've got great supply, and we'll talk just a little bit more about that.
And we have some key cutoff dates for financing. John Deere financing 0% offer, same as cash, and we also have another key cash discount ends on that day. So, if you want to save money, January 15th is a big day.
And then 74 is how many days it is to April 1st, when everybody will be getting their planters out and be getting ready to go to the field. So that brings me back to where we started.
Well, wait a minute, Turk. April 1st, we're not going to plant April 1st this year.
No, but you better have your seed in the shed by then.
What I'm saying, though, if you go by John Felt's weather forecast, and John Felt's the guy that you can sign up for free to get a weather forecast. He put a long-range weather forecast, and Turk, I think this year, April 1st, you might be planting.
Well, his forecast is looking like a mild winter and early spring, and so just when we think that we might run into the same thing next year, it might be completely the opposite, and it'll be earlier than any of us ever expect, and so again, you better be ready. Time goes on. Everything just keeps moving regardless of where we're at. I know everybody's late right now. There's still corn. Talked to some folks that still had 10% of the corn in North Dakota while we were at Chicago. So there's a lot of stuff to do yet, but next year is going to be here before we know it. And because I think didn't you say, Tommy, that something like 70% of the seed is not booked yet?
Yep, 65 to 70% of the seed is not booked as of yesterday.
And so it's a lot of things is going to have to happen in a very, very, very short time.
And then the logistics take over at some point.
They will.
They will take over, and if I know farmers and consumers in general are used to the Amazon.com model, where it's you order it today, you'll get it tomorrow or the next day. It doesn't work that way in the ag industry. I mean, the actives for chemicals are only made one time a year for a lot of the manufacturers. I know on seed, I think everybody go back 2 years, 2 springs, and you will find out that was the year I was talking to the Rosen people, or big chemical distributors, and they said we couldn't find trucks. I mean, we had all kinds of orders, could not find trucks. In other words, they physically had the stuff in the warehouse, but couldn't get it there. Isn't that a little bit like the propane this year?
Well, we had that same issue with propane. Propane this year there was a shortage of LP, but we just couldn't get it to where it needed to be. There wasn't enough trucks. There wasn't enough capacity, pipeline capacity. The demand the demand for the product was greater than the ability to deliver it to the areas that need to be. I predict it's going to be the same thing with Enlist soybeans. With 68% of growers plan to use new products on their farm next year. That was another number that we got out of Chicago. So, and a lot of that 68% is going to be Enlist soybeans for the first time on their farm.
Or LibertyLink GT27.
Or LibertyLink GT27. So a new product to them on their farm. Those numbers scream that not everybody's going to get what they want. There's a lot of companies running around right now saying that they have supply, but I predict that they're going to be a lot of sell and substitute with a lot of companies. At Mershman Seeds, I feel pretty comfortable that we could say we will guarantee you delivery of Enlist soybeans if you order them from us. We have supply, and we grew a big pile, and we have beans to sell. So, having said that, a lot of things is going to happen in a very short time. The time is clicking away, and so the sooner you get your seed ordered and get it in your shed delivered, that's when you know that you're ready to go for you to get that planter out on April 1st and be ready to plant.
Well, Turk, we were talking right before we start filming today about, my dad told me that back when he first started business, that farmers would come to town in March and get everything they needed to plant in March, and they would go home with it, and they would not come back to town until they were finished. And Ben, you were saying your grandfather, Tell that story.
We used to. So my dad talks about when when they're using a lot of two-wheel drive tractors, like the 66 Series International was very popular, 1466. They used to have enough inventory to be able to rebuild that tractor off the shelves of what we had in the shop. I mean, it didn't matter what broke. You had inventory to fix those tractors because it's just the way it was.
Didn't have time to go down.
Running to town used to be a bigger deal than what it is now.
So that's all changed, and now we expect our supplier to have the product. And I guess the word caution is time's moving fast. The smart farmer who plans ahead always makes more money and always gets the right products. And it's just the first step to the high yields is to get ready for next year. So
Get the right product. Get the right product from your seed person.
I would say if you haven't bought your seed yet, definitely get it ordered and ask for guaranteed delivery or that product to be guaranteed to get to you. Because I know being out just yesterday, I know for a fact that there's some companies that are sold out of some Enlist varieties, or all sold out of an Enlist as their inventory. And a customer's like, well, I just bought some Enlist beans today from so-and-so. And I said, well, I hope you get them. And I'm not saying that just to be a salesman or be competitive. I really hope they get what they ordered and it gets delivered, because the last thing farmers need right now is going through a harvest that they did a year like 2019 and to start 2020 off in the way of not having seed. Because we all saw this year, if you don't get your crop on and in at certain times, I mean, look at the difference in yields this year when planters are running.
Yep.
And
critical timing is
Absolutely.
everything.
And think about, and just a short little point, think about how many guys are strategically planning how to place their non-dicamba beans versus their dicamba beans. Just think about that aspect of it. There's a lot of time involved and a lot of neighbors trying to talk. I mean, I know it's happening right now. It's happening in the county that we're sitting in. Who's planning what? Where am I going to get my Enlist? Where am I going to get my Extend to make sure that I'm not affecting my neighbors?
There was a customer who bought Enlist soybeans in September, not from us, bought Enlist soybeans in September. He just took delivery earlier this week. They delivered him Extend beans. And it was, he didn't know. I was just sitting in the shed. I said, I thought you ordered Enlist. It was Extend beans. And I go, well, that's a good question. I called this guy, had the conversation, and they messed up. But I'm concerned about what's going on. How many calls have we got that dicamba and 2,4-D and choline technology is the same thing? There's some confusion out there, and I hope other reps or other companies aren't trying to confuse to push one another way. So we just always ask the question, make sure you get what you're getting, get guaranteed delivery so you can be on the right spot.
Of the product that you want.
I mean, it's
Word to the wise.
absolutely.
That's good. Well, I want to wrap this session up today with some really good news. We had a big party yesterday at Mershman Seeds. No alcohol, just because you don't have to have alcohol to have fun. It does help once in a while, though. But anyhow, we had a party. And why did we have a party yesterday at noon at Mershman Seeds? That's because we were celebrating that we got some seed lots that came back 100% germ. And doing a little history, the last time we got 100% seed germ on a final lot was 2011. And those they hang up in the seed plant as what we call state championships or something that only happens very rarely.
Trophy case.
I mean, and we have two plants that produce Mershman seeds. We have the Rough Diamond Conditioning down in Olmsted, Illinois, and then we also have here at West Point, Iowa. And both plants were able to produce seed lots of 100% germ. So we have 7 seed lots with 100% germ. We have 4 varieties, and the varieties are Richmond, Houston, Boston, and Tampa. And I want to definitely sound out and talk about the growers, because this would not be possible without good growers. And today I'm going to announce who the growers were. And in fact, the growers don't know. So if they're watching Cup of Joe, they might swallow a little bit harder when they find out I name their name. Paul Dubert produced 100% germ seed lot as a seed grower. Jansen Farms, Michael Evans, and Paul Schmidt. Those are all seed lots that came from their bins to our conditioning plants at both locations, and we were able to produce 100% germ seed. And then we'd also like to point out that we also had a a grower that had 100% bin germ. In other words, we always bin germ our seed before we condition it. And that's Greenmark, Brian Boner, produced 100% germination from his bin. Now, we haven't brought those into the plant yet, but they're going to be good, believe me. But you might say, well, what's the big deal about 100% germ? Well, at Merschman Seeds, this company is run by seedsmen, okay? And I don't know if you understand the difference between a seedsman and a seed company. A seedsman puts the seed above all else, number one. My dad always said seedsmen are born, not made. In other words, we think they're kind of a special group. I consider myself a seedsman. And we always put the seed first, above everything else. In other words, above profit, above anything, because we know that perfect seed has the potential for a perfect stand and a perfect yield. And in end of the day, that's what Merschman Seeds is all about, trying to be as perfect as we can. So therefore, when we get 100% germ, we have a pizza party, and everybody celebrates our success because it takes the grower, it takes the seed conditioning people, the seed treatment. It takes all these pieces got to fit in perfectly, and this was all documented by Iowa State University, their Seed Science Center, which is one of the best labs in the country. So we're pretty excited and pretty pumped up, and and I can tell you we've had a lot of 99 germs, but that's not 100. Last time we had one was 2011. So the message I want to pass on to our growers and our farmers is that we're going to produce some high quality seed for you, some of the highest quality seed that we possibly can. That means you can plant a little bit less, because instead of 90% germ, the seed's germing better than that. And if that means you get a little better stand, a little better potential yield, like I always say, first step to higher yields is a perfect stand. Cut back a little bit on your seed cost. Again, seed company telling you that. That's because we're run by seedsmen, not by the bean counters in Wall Street. We want your success first, and it starts with good seed. So that's the excitement that I have to share. And if we don't have anything else, as always, we thank you for your business. We appreciate your support, and we'll see you next week.